What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? It's your boys over here at Three Man Weave. I'm your lovely co-host, ZD, in the building with CJ. We coming at you guys live, man. It's a Monday, April 13th. And we got our season outlook, CJ. I mean, here we are. We're finally here. The road, the long journey to the playoffs. Both of our teams are secure. And we're going to go through the entire league, man, for the people. I mean, once again, we did all 30 earlier in the year. I think the outlooks are a little different because we now have conclusive evidence of where these teams are. But CJ, how are you feeling today, my man? How are you doing, bro?
Man, feeling good. Last time we talked, I think that was the day that was going to decide if we were the clinch the first seed or not. And, the Thunder ended up doing that. So I'm good, man.
Yeah.
Ready to get into, this play-in talks, playoff predictions type of deal for this, this upcoming weeks coming up. But I'm excited, bro. Like I've been telling you all season long, this is what I've been waiting for, getting the opportunity to get to that mountaintop again as a Thunder fan and, just a sport hoop fan in general. This is when the best hoops are being played, good. Hopefully we're going to get a lot of good series. And I feel like, whenever the playoffs start, it just, everyone's attention is on the game of hoops. So anytime, we get, could get put in the spotlight, it's always a great time. So, hopefully, we can, get some good clips and get some good episodes for these ladies and gentlemen that are, hopefully watching us for their first time or returning viewers. But I'm doing great, bro. How are you doing tonight?
I'm good, man. Like CJ said, we appreciate you if you're new or if you're returning. And yeah, I'm feeling good. Lakers 4 seed. It is what it is. Limping into. I mean, we won 3 games. I mean, hey, LeBron James. You know what I'm saying? Averaging like 27, 8, and 7 to finish the year. And you see him, Luke Kennard, right? Yeah. My goodness. I mean, I had somebody on Twitter say, well, I didn't know Luke Kennard can go like this. Go look at his high school highlights, bro.
Yeah.
He's an initiator, and I think people forget in the NBA they play roles, right? Like Nickeil Alexander-Walker and whoever. But yeah, I'm feeling good, bro, because I think my team, just to win these last 3 games, it kind of shows me there's some sort of fight, right? My goodness. I was talking to my girl about it. I'm like, I can barely watch these games, but if they're winning, that makes me a lot happier. To be honest, we won our last game of the season. We beat the Jazz. I know it's the Jazz, but we beat them by like 30. Yeah, 27 points, something like that. So yeah, we're doing good, bro. I'm doing good, and I'm ready to get into it, man. I mean, man, I'll start with my team, the Lakers. Y'all know how it is, bro. The Lakers finished the year extremely well. We went 21-9 over our last 30 games, and we held a top 10 win-loss record in the NBA over that span. The Lakers were led by Luka Doncic and Austin Reeves this season, CJ, as the duo averaged more than 55 points per game combined, which made them the highest scoring duo in the NBA. Luka Doncic, NBA scoring champion, unfortunately somehow ineligible for the awards. And we'll see with the appeal. We'll see. Obviously had the childbirth this year. Luka, he should appeal the ruling because I think he finished with 64 games played. And obviously Austin Reeves missed a ton of time this season, but the fact that they averaged over 55 points per game combined, the highest scoring duo in the NBA, I think it says a lot about where they are. Both players missed the games requirement, unfortunately, for the end of season awards. They missed 49 games together combined. Doncic averaged 33.5 points per game, which is obviously first in the NBA, and 8.3 assists per game, which is third in the NBA, on 48% shooting from the floor. And Austin Reeves averaged 23.3 points per game, 5.5 assists on 49% shooting from the floor. Those boys were cooking all season. To me, the best duo in the NBA in terms of scoring. You could argue Jokic, Jamal Murray. You can say Shea or J-Dub and Chet, whatever. I don't want to hear it. I got the best duo in the league. That's not to say Reeves and Doncic didn't have help from the best third option of all time, LeBron James, who averaged 20.9 points per game and 7.2 assists on 51% shooting. NBA record averages for players older than 40. And he also led the league in fast break points per game and total fast break points. The fact that we got a 41-year-old still flying. We saw the posters this year and the highlight plays. LeBron James is still doing everything and more. And I think he is the best third option of all time. The fact that he was willing to play third fiddle this year is the reason that we were able to get above 50 wins. So shout out LBJ. The Lakers team also improved on the defensive end as the season went along. Pre-All-Star break, the Lakers ranked 23rd in the NBA in defensive rating, allowing 116.6 points per 100. Post-All-Star break, though, that number improved. The Lakers post-All-Star break climbed 9 rankings to 13th in defensive rating, only allowing 113.4 points per 100. For me, CJ, we talked about it during the All-Star break, kind of after. I was like, yo, what are some improvements that your team needs to make sure that they're able to clinch the number 1 seed? I mean, we knew the Thunder were going to do well, but for me, I said for the Lakers, I'm like, I need to see more fight on the defensive end. And we were able to do that. Post All-Star break, we're ranking within the top, 15, 14. And I told you if we can get within the top 10, we're a dangerous team because of how well we perform on offense with LBJ, Austin Reeves, and Doncic. Overall, the Lakers finished the season with a plus 2.1 net rating, which ranks 14th in the NBA, and with a 53-29 record, which places them 4th in the Western Conference this season. LA also finished among the top 10 in offensive rating, scoring 117 points per 100 possessions, which ranks 10th in the NBA this season. Great year. I wanted to give props to Luke Kennard, Rob Pelinka. I think DeAndre Ayton, too. I don't know if you saw Udonis Haslem gave him a lot of credit, speaking about how, you still got to act like you're the guy in your role, right? He was saying LeBron James is never like, well, I'm the third option. LeBron James will never be a third option. Even though he is, in reality, he doesn't think that way. And I think the growth of players like Marcus Smart, Luke Kennard, Ayton, Hachimura for sure. I wish Dalton Connect played more. I seen Bronny James Jr. grow at the end of the season. I think post All-Star break for me was the best part of the year. Obviously, going 21-9 over our last 30 says a lot about where we are kind of going into the playoffs. Unfortunately, we are missing Luka Doncic and Austin Reeves, and that is the big caveat versus the Rockets. I personally believe we still have enough firepower to compete with them if we can push it to a Game 6 or a Game 7 behind LeBron James and Luke Kennard, who seem to have found something as an initiator at the end of the season. And I think we have a puncher's chance. I'm not going to sit here and say we're just going to roll over, which is good. But the fact that we have the highest scoring duo in the league, the fact that we were able to improve our defensive rating, I think for me, the season's been a success. Out of 10, I'd have to give it a 7.5 or 8. My expectations really couldn't be much higher. I think the games missed is a big thing for a lot of teams, right? Not just for me, but also the Thunder. The games missed scares me. We did miss a ton of games between our big three, and we're not going to be competitive if we don't have them in the lineup. But other than the injuries and the defensive issues earlier in the season, I feel like JJ deserves a lot of credit. And I'm excited to see where we head in the future. I think this the offseason files, whenever we do that episode for LA, is going to be interesting. We're going to break down their balance sheet. Is LeBron James going to leave? What's going to happen with Austin Reeves? I heard he declined his option. I didn't bring it up last week. It hadn't happened yet, but he did decline the current player option that the Lakers are offering. He's going to negotiate a new deal. Obviously, he's a completely different player. I want to see Rob Pelinka in high leverage situations. The Luka Doncic trade saved us, and we've talked about it on this podcast. For new viewers, you don't know, but 2 years ago, you asked me like, where are the Lakers going? Yeah, like
what's their
what
future
are the Lakers
looking like?
What's their future looking like, and where are they going to end up? Well, Luka fell into our hands, and I would be honest, Rob Pelinka got lucky with that. I think if any other team called, they could have made that deal. So now, again, we traded Luke Kennard. Gabe Vincent for Luke Kennard. That was a really good move. I think he's made a couple other great moves on the back end, and we'll have to see during the offseason what we can do. But for now, we're focused on the playoffs with, top 10 scoring offense. And if our defense can hold top 10, I'm excited to see where the Lakers can go. But I'm feeling confident. I saw Luka Doncic is going to return from Spain, I think tomorrow to get reevaluated. Great. If he comes back sooner than later, that's going to be good for us. But the fact that we have the number 1 scorer in the NBA right now, I'd say we got a puncher's chance.
Oh yeah. Yeah, bro. It's I feel like you said, obviously injuries at the time of year is really what, put a hamper on the season for you. But like, besides that, like you said, I think this is, if I probably were to ask you before the season started, what position you think you would, or what standing would you have coming into the season, I feel like you probably would have said a top 4 seed. So I think y'all did it.
Exactly.
I think throughout the year it was
We met
constantly defense,
expectations.
defense, what is it going to be? Are they going to have the intensity on that side of the floor? They ended up figuring that out, right after the All-Star break. And like you said, that was your main thing. And they were able to, lock in and figure it out. So proud of the Lakers, bro. Like you said, Luka and AR, what they were been able to do. Like you said, being the highest scoring duo, and then seeing LeBron as the third option. That was something that
Right.
I think that was what would that look like? But I mean, it's LeBron, bro. He's able to adjust, and he's still playing at the level that we're accustomed to him playing at
Like you
40.
said, his ability to mold into the player that you need him to be, it's second to none. I think he's the GOAT. He's my GOAT of all
Mhm.
time. I mean, he's the best player I've ever seen. His ability to be the best third option for us has been amazing. So yeah, shout out Olay. Not everything's been perfect. There's been a couple blowups on the bench, some behind the scenes things. It's the Lakers, baby. It shines in Los Angeles, but I think we're going into the playoffs with a puncher's chance. So I really can't complain. I think we've had a great season. Like I said, 7.5 out of 8, or sorry, 8 out of 10, 7.5 out of 10. I mean, a 10 looks like 60 wins. A 10 looks like the Thunder season. And
Mhm.
we'll get into that now.
Yeah, we'll get into that, man. So we just did the Lakers outlook for the season. We're gonna talk about the Thunder's outlook for the season, man. The Thunder completely dominated the season, starting the year 24-1 after 25 games, and finished with a 42-14 record pre All-Star break. They were the first team in the NBA to get to 40, 50, and 60 wins, alongside possessing the best net rating in the NBA with a plus 11.1. Shea Gilgeous-Alexander put together another great, potentially MVP-like season, averaging 31.1 points per game, 4.3 rebounds per game, and 6.6 assists per game on 55% shooting from the floor and 66.5% true shooting, which is a career high. AJ
My goodness.
Mitchell and Chet Holmgren had a breakout year two as well. Mitchell averaged 13.6 points per game on 48.5% shooting, and Holmgren averaged 17 points per game, 8.9 rebounds per game, and 2 blocks per game. That was the huge thing. I'm pretty sure
Yeah, year 3
I'll
for
end up
Holmgren.
year three from Holmgren, year two for AJ. Um, the leap that AJ Mitchell took this year, especially with all the
Oh,
injuries,
man.
and I'll talk about that, once we wrap up the whole
Yeah.
outlook. But just his growth this season, coming from last year where he was getting some playing time, not really that much, like really garbage time minutes. Him being able to take this leap in the second year and just kind of be the second initiator of the offense whenever
Yeah.
all our guys were injured was a huge leap. And then obviously what just Chet has been able to do, obviously on the defensive side of the ball,
Mm-hmm.
we know what he can provide. I think he's holding opponents to like 53% shooting at the rim, which I think is the best in the league.
Yeah, and
So
in the NBA. Yeah.
his defensive ability and just what he's been able to do on the offensive side of the ball, it seems like he's gotten a lot comfortable getting to his spots. His jump shot is looking a lot more fluid than it was last year. I mean, he still has that hitch, but it looks like he isn't being as hesitant in moments whenever he's open. And I think that's something we need to see from him, specifically in the playoffs. So, that being said, while not unbelievable numbers, the stability from the Thunder without J-Dub for most of the year, 49 games missed, is a testament to their depth in the front court and back court. The OKC Thunder also had another historic year on the defensive end. The Thunder only allowed
Mm.
opponents to score 106.5 points per 100 possessions, which ranked first in the NBA this year, and they also ranked third in the league in steals this season, averaging 9.7 steals a game. Offensively, the Thunder didn't skip a beat either, scoring 117.6 points per 100 possessions this season, which ranked seventh in the entire NBA. And the Thunder had the eighth best scoring bench, as their bench scored 41 points per game. The Thunder finished the year with a 64-18 record, clinching their division and winning the West.
Man.
I think
Jared
obviously
McCain.
Jared McCain, that trade that we were able to do with the 76ers was a huge factor as to why,
Mm.
especially post All-Star break, you brought it up when you said that the thing that you wanted your team to improve on was the defense. For us, it was our 3-point shooting and just getting the offense fluid whenever Shea isn't on the court. And I think that was exactly what, AJ Mitchell missed a lot of time too, but having our second, like our bench unit stepping up at big moments this year. Isaiah Joe is a flamethrower from 3, I think. Our best shooter, hands down. And then Jalen Williams, J. Will, has had an incredible year. I think it's getting not overlooked because, obviously it's winning basketball, but just
underappreciated for sure.
100%, bro. It's been him, kind of being able to be like our Swiss Army knife whenever we have, iHeart out, Chet out, because they've been in and out the lineup. J. Will has been pretty consistent in our lineup and, provides on both sides of the ball. And I think passing, kind of like the mode of a big man for the Thunder, being able to set good screens, pass the ball, get the ball into, the tight pockets and get to pass it to the open man. He's been such a huge, valuable asset for us. But, kind of like what you were saying, man, just especially post All-Star break, I believe we had, if not the hardest schedule in the league, one of the top 5 hardest schedules. So that was going to be a huge test for us. I know we're going against the Nuggets, the Pistons, the Celtics. That was Lakers. Yeah. Like we were going against all the top teams in the NBA. So the fact we were, we went through our lows in the season. I remember, at the beginning of the season, it was when we were in that 25 game period when we lost 1 game. Any loss up to that point, it felt like it was dramatic.
The world was ending,
my gosh, yeah, like the Thunder are losing. What's going on? Are they a fluke? This and that.
Yeah.
So for me personally, it sucks seeing that just because I care so much about it, and I'm watching these games, and just because we lose a couple games in the season doesn't mean that we're a fluke and we're still not the best team. I think
that's understandable.
We proved to the league and to the all the fans of the NBA that we still are the top man. We may not be as dominant, quote unquote, but it's I think the numbers speak for itself, and I think it's the narrative that has been made for us with the injuries. Coming off of a championship, your expectations are to get back to that point again. And I think with all that being said, what we've been able to go through, I mean, like you said, like I wouldn't give it a 10, but it definitely is in the caliber up there. I would say a solid like 9, honestly, 9 out of 10 for us. Yeah, because if we were healthy, if all the players were on the court as much as, as they could be, or, injuries were a little less, then it would have been a perfect season. But that being said, I mean, I didn't have to come onto this podcast a lot and complain, but the moments where I did, it just felt like the world was ending in a sense. But I think it just goes to show that that is the caliber of team that we are, and it's kind of expecting greatness each time you touch the court. So it's a good thing, but it's also a lot of pressure. But the fact that we were able to still be the best team in the league, clinch the number 1 seed in the West, I think it goes to show the type of team that we have and the mentality that we had going into the season. And it was great, bro. Like, Shea potentially getting another MVP speaks for itself, and just the improvement from all the bench players with all the injuries that we had to go through. I think, it goes to show that, we still have one of the deepest teams in the NBA. That's, my takeaways of the season, man. Not a perfect season, of course. I don't think you'll probably ever hear me say it's a perfect season, but it's as good as it can get with the circumstances for the
Wait,
the
if
roster.
they broke the record? What if they broke the record?
If they broke the record, then I think it would be... It would have been a 10 for sure, but they didn't, so I can't give it a 10. But I'll give it a 9 at least because of the amount of wins, obviously having the most wins this season, and then just the injuries that we had to deal with. So, of course, it would be a perfect season. I take that back if it was breaking the record, because obviously that's the goal.
Like,
But it didn't happen, and there was injuries, so I think that's why I got to give it a 9. But it was a spectacular season as a Thunder fan. I have not much to complain about, and if I do, it's just nitpicking stuff.
They were awesome. 34-8 at home, 41 points per game from their bench. Jared McCain, Caruso. I think Caruso for me at times just looked like a bat out of hell, man. He's a banshee. You just don't want that guy. Cason Wallace is scary as hell. They're Sam Presti and Mark Daigneault, man, are just amazing. Their front office is great. They have A's across the board. Even in your offseason file, it's really hard to be like, oh, what can they do better?
Right.
Because if you look at their balance sheet, it's healthy. They're winning hella games. They have a real core. Yeah, there's not much to complain about.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And we're going to get into the ugly teams here in a second, but the Thunder are the complete opposite. They've been a consistent model of excellency for the last 2.5 years,
Mhm.
and it doesn't really look like it's going to change.
Yeah.
You know, going forward either. I don't see, even in the playoffs, I have them winning the championship.
Mhm. Yeah.
So you're at the tippy top of the mountain. I saw a stat the other day. I know you saw it. Chet Holmgren has never finished below 1.
Mhm.
1 anywhere, like high school, college, or NBA. Like, how does that work, bro? You just don't lose, bro.
He's a winner, man.
He's a winner. Well, hey, man, you know, all dynasties fall, but your dynasty is alive and well. We are moving on to the ugly. This is, you know, Western Conference. Teams had bad years. It's okay. We're going to start off from the bottom up. We're going to get it right into it. It's the Jazz, okay? The Jazz, Utah, I love y'all, but the Jazz weren't good at all this season. However, they didn't expect to be. And with their midseason acquisition of Jaren Jackson Jr., the Jazz are now primed to take full advantage of one of the strongest draft classes in recent memory. Utah desperately needs another guard to go alongside Keontae George. Me personally, if they get a top 3 pick, we all know who that should be. Utah ranked 29th in the NBA in defense this season, allowing teams to score 120.8 points per 100 possessions against them. Without Walker Kessler, the man in the middle, he missed more than 90% of the season after getting shoulder surgery. The Jazz allowed opponents to make the most field goals per game in the NBA against them this year, over 45 field goals made allowed per game. These poor defensive metrics led the Jazz to the worst record in the West, unfortunately, at 22-60, and forced Utah to commit conduct detrimental to the NBA by sitting players and tanking. And that's something Adam Silver's been actively working on, that they seem to love to clown the Jazz on. I think the Jazz got fined. The Pacers got fined. I know the Jazz got fined last year too.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? So, like, the NBA is like, no tanking, no tanking. We said we wouldn't talk about it, so there's that. But they did get fined for that. I think they're $500,000. But there's still a glimmer of hope of what could be the future for Utah. Keontae George had a breakout season, averaging 23.6 points per game and dishing out 6 assists per game while shooting 45% from the floor. All career highs across the board. We spoke about Keontae George and our most improved player. I think we went through it a little bit more on that episode, but it was pretty dope to talk about it because he's been brilliant this season. In my opinion, at times, he's looked like the best guard on the floor, which, you know, from somebody who's been watching the NBA 5-10 years pretty, closely and actually dialing in on the games, Keontae George, I don't know, was on the timeline that the Utah Jazz wanted him to be on. This season changed that. He showed that he could be an all-star guard in the Western Conference, which is a nasty place to play point guard. He's shown he's capable of doing that. So shout out to Keontae George, man. All career highs across the board. And at times, the Jazz have looked like a well-oiled machine as well. They had 30-plus games, CJ, where they scored more than 120 points. Lauri Markkanen was also deadly when he played this season. He missed over 40 games. Markkanen averaged 26.7 points per game and 7 rebounds a game on 48% shooting from the floor and 36% from deep. The Jazz were in deep rebuild mode all year as they finished the season with a minus 8.2 net rating, which ranked 27th in the NBA during the 2025-2026 NBA season. Utah, you didn't have great, crazy expectations going into this year, but I think the season is a win for you because of the acquisitions that you made. Jaren Jackson Jr. gives you another long, athletic, big defensive unit who also happens to be very good on the offensive end. The balance sheet has changed. Obviously, it's a $200 million player, but when Walker Kessler is back, Jaren Jackson Jr. is in the lineup. They got Keontae George. They have Collier. They have Markkanen. They have a bunch of different Swiss Army knife players who can contribute at a high level. We saw Bryce Sensabaugh had a great last month of the season. I think they have a lot of capable guys on their roster. Haven't watched the Jazz super closely this season. I'm speaking from what I've seen. Whenever they played the Lakers, they played great. They scored over 120 points both times that they played us this season, clearly showing that they're capable offensively. For me, the issues arise on the defensive end. I think that's because the injuries to Walker Kessler really hurt their interior. But we will see next season. If they get a lottery pick, I think they should take Darren Peterson. I don't know if they need a forward. They could take AJ. Of course, number one pick, take best available. Doesn't really matter. You can figure it out later. I just don't know if AJ DeBonsa in that position in Utah is better than Darren Peterson being their guy there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, like you said it perfectly, bro. Right after didn't expect Jaren Jackson Jr. to be on this roster, so that was a huge trade for them and acquisition of their to their roster. But that being said, with all the injuries that they went through with Walker Kessler, Lowry, Triple J, I think it kind of is it's setting them up for, especially if they're able to get a top 3 pick in this draft, like you said, potentially getting Darren Peterson or whoever it falls down to them. It's going to be incredible for their roster. And obviously this season wasn't the greatest, but that being said, I think as a whole, like you just mentioned earlier, didn't really have high expectations for the Jazz to even, be in the position that there are now. So the fact that they were able to make moves and, with a coach, with their coach,
Will Hardy.
Will Hardy. Sorry,
he's been good.
He's good. Yeah. So
he's been good.
Seeing them with a roster healthy this upcoming season, I'm excited for. I think potential play-in type team. That's my preseason prediction already for all y'all. I think 2027. But I'm excited. Like you said, wasn't the greatest for them this season, but I think it's looking forward to the future, and I think for rosters, for teams, and especially for fans, that's when you're in the position that the Jazz have been in for, really since the Donovan Mitchell, Rudy Gobert trade, they haven't had a lot of hope. And, with Ace Bailey, with Bryce Sensabaugh, Collier, Keontae George, all the people that you have mentioned earlier.
Oh, Ace Bailey, man. I forgot to even bring him up, man. He was on fire all year.
So it's looking bright for them. Obviously didn't have the greatest season, but I would say they had a good season for the most part, besides their record and net rating and whatnot. But
they wanted the pick, right? Yeah. That's why they were sitting guys. So I think if they wanted to compete, they could win 40 games.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree. So
they're a lot better than their record shows. So I'm with you. We'll see what they do in the draft this year. We'll see.
Yeah. Going into our next, Western Conference team, the Sacramento Kings, your hometown, baby. The Kings, man, were a big disappointment this year, given their roster situation and playoff aspirations. Sacramento finished with a 22-60 record, which placed them 14th in the West and searching for answers. Maxime Reynaud was one of the only bright spots for the Kings this season. In his rookie year, Reynaud averaged 12.5 points per game and 7.5 rebounds per game on 57% shooting from the floor, all while playing 74 games. Reynaud will most likely finish top 5 in the Rookie of the Year voting behind players like Knuppel, Flagg, Edgecombe, and Harper. Unfortunately for the Kings, their main core of Domantas Sabonis, Zach LaVine, and Keegan Murray all missed extended time this season, combining to miss 165 total games between all three players.
Oh my gosh.
Ridiculous, bro.
That's not even fathomable. I mean, Domantas Sabonis, I know he hurt your team, the dynasty team, big time. Mm-hmm. Keegan Murray ended up going in at the end of the year and had a hell of a last month of the season, and Zach LaVine with his hand. Mm-hmm. I think the Kings were not expecting for those 3 dudes to be hurt. All 3 of those guys, I mean, I'm sure CJ will talk about it, but all 3 of those dudes are very good players.
Very good, very good. Given the situation, Sacramento ranked 26th in the NBA in offense rating this season, scoring only 110.6 points per 100 possessions, as they were missing over 50 points of offensive production on a nightly basis, it seemed. DeMar DeRozan, who's been the Kings' most consistent player, tried picking up the slack, averaging 18.4 points per game on 49.7% shooting from the floor. Now the Kings have a decision to make in this upcoming draft. Either trade their potential top 5 pick and package it with an expiring contract to bring in a new asset, or live and die behind the pick they make this year in the upcoming draft. Either way, Sacramento will be looking for vengeance next year. I think that, like we said, when 3 of your, top guys are missing, the whole season essentially. It's kind of hard to really judge your season, but off of what we saw, just wasn't the greatest. They've had bright spots. Well, like I said with Reynaud, that was an incredible pickup for them. But
Oh man,
besides
he's
that, I
been.
mean, even Brody, Russell Westbrook
I
was
was gonna say
contributing a lot
Russ.
to them, and I think that's the a huge pickup for
He
them.
will next year probably.
But yeah, it's with the Kings, it's just kind of, it seems like it's a lot of the same stuff that they've been having to go through. Being the Sacramento Bulls in a sense, and bringing Levine
Right,
and
complete purgatory.
DeRozan. It's kind of in a spot to where, what are your next steps?
Going
And
in circles and
right, just
yeah.
constantly getting not getting the production that you should be from your top guys. It's kind of hard to really see how you're gonna have a good season. But with that being said, I think this is I think we'll say this with all these teams as well. This is probably the draft to, tank in a sense, or just not have the greatest season because of how much
CJ, can I be honest with you, bro?
What's up, bro?
They need to trade their pick with Sabonis.
Mm-hmm. And
That's probably
who
what they need to do. Or
who
Levine,
who would you think would be a
unfortunately.
good fit for that roster? Because if it's a top
If
five
they get a
pick,
top five, yeah, so a top five pick, you take, let's say they're at the 4, cool. You take Cameron Boozer, or you take Caleb Wilson.
mhm.
You reach on a guy like that. I think both of those dudes are. I don't think Devonsa and Peterson will be available after 3. Do you?
No, I don't think so.
Right. So probably Cam Boozer probably goes 3. Maybe it might be Caleb Wilson.
Caleb Wilson.
Take Caleb Wilson. They need a forward who can play 2 ways, who's athletic. You can make a decision. Before you do that, though, you need to shop that pick to see if anybody wants it with a player like Sabonis, with a player like Levine. I have to look at their contracts. I might be able to get back to you on that because I want to make sure the money works. But we'll see. I'll look in the trade finder and see. I don't know who would bite, but I know if they had a top 5 pick before the lottery odds, of course, this is all in the future. They could fall to like 8 and then it's cooked, right? So let's say they're in the top 5, though, like to CJ's point. I think you got to make some decisions. And the front office has been horrible. I'm from Sacktown. I want to be a semi-Kings fan, but I just can't do it with these guys making the decisions. And Vlade, even going back to the Luka thing, there's a reason they didn't take him. And I think it was because of the Vlade Divac beef and whatever their thing was. And I'm not too big into front offices making hasty decisions because of personal reasons. That's really weird. It's what happened with Nico Harrison. Other teams are doing it. We'll get into another team who is sort of doing that as well. But I think you need to look to package an expiring contract. And maybe nobody bites on Sabonis, because of his injury history recently. It might have to be a guy like Levine or DeRozan even. I think there's still plenty of teams who could add a scoring veteran like DeRozan who can just come off at their bench and score 15 to 20 a night on good shooting. Maxime Reynaud is the best player for the Kings this season, without a doubt, the most consistent. And he had, at times, I saw him play live against Wembanyama, and he had like 27 points, 12 boards, 5 assists, hit a 3-ball in that game. This dude can really go. I think the Kings have done a good job of finding the right people, too. They've drafted – we went through their draft, but Fox, Halliburton. I think Maxime Reynaud – has the potential to be very good in this league, and I've seen it before and with my own 2 eyes, and I'm not afraid to say it's somebody you should look to build around. And if you've hit on all your draft picks, like I was saying earlier, Fox, Halliburton, Reynaud, Murray, all of these guys are good. It's not like they're drafting the wrong people. It would be one thing if these dudes were bust, but really since Marvin Bagley, it's been pretty clean.
Yeah, I agree.
So I think Sacktown can do it.
So hypothetical, right? And this will probably be a topic we'll dive more deep whenever we do the offseason fire for the Kings. But let's say they do end up trading this top 5 pick. They end up getting an expiring contract. Are they in obviously probably still rebuild mode and just kind of figuring out what other pieces to build around, Reynaud? Or what would that look like exactly, I guess, for this upcoming year, I guess?
Well, you don't think they're a playoff team?
If healthy, yes, but
so for me, it comes down to the health. If they're healthy, they're a top 8 seed in the West.
Yeah.
At playing. I believe if they got a top 5 draft pick, it would make them a playoff team.
Mhm.
I think so.
Yeah.
If healthy.
If healthy.
That's
Yeah,
a
yeah.
big yes.
Yeah, I feel like
Yeah.
that's the thing with them since they're light the
Playing
beams.
team.
Yeah,
Playing team.
playing team, you know,
They're
potentially
not very
making the
good
playoffs.
defensively.
Yeah. Yeah, I was just curious because obviously, like we've been saying this whole year, this is the draft to, potentially, you know, be pretty bad to get
Suck.
one of these
Yeah,
guys. But if
exactly.
you trade away that pick,
Tank.
yeah, I was just thinking, what does that look like? I guess, but like you said, I think if healthy, then we probably wouldn't even be having this
I'll look
conversation
into
about
it
them.
more too.
But I was just
Like
curious.
I'll
Yeah,
have to see how the money works. If they were to trade, so because those dudes are on pretty big contracts, they're not trading Keegan Murray.
no.
He's young, and they just re-signed him, so they're going to either trade Sabonis, Levine, or DeRozan.
Mhm.
All of those guys are on decently sized contracts, and they're all fairly priced.
Right.
It's not like they're. Zach LaVine was having a hell of a year before he went down with the hand injury, by the way.
Yeah.
Probably career on his way to a career year. It's not like he was playing himself out of the NBA.
Right.
These guys are good players. I think Sacktown, that's why the purgatory, that's so frustrating. Sacktown, I'm pissed at you. You guys should be a lot better. Malik Monk is rotting on the bench. I saw him in San Antonio too, and he put up 20, just another quiet night. But I'm like, Malik Monk needs to be on a competitive team. This is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Same with Russ, I think they deserve better. Their front office is horrible. But Sack, I think you guys do have a light at the end of the tunnel through this pick. And to CJ's point, we'll have to see what they can do with it.
Yes,
but moving on, man, the Grizzlies. The Grizzlies were also in purgatory with issues arising with Ja Morant on and off the court this season. Trading Desmond Bane this offseason and trading Jaren Jackson Jr. at the deadline this year. The question the Grizz asked themselves constantly was, where's our future headed? After finishing 13th in the West with a 25-57 record, that answer is much clearer now. The Grizzlies are headed towards a war chest of draft picks, starting with the lottery pick in a great 2026 draft class. Unfortunately for Memphis, they still need to pick up the pieces and put everything together, especially on the defensive end, where Memphis ranked 27th in the NBA in defensive rating, allowing 118.4 points per 100 possessions. I mean, Zach Edey needs to be healthy. They can't guard anybody on the interior. And after trading Jaren Jackson Jr. away, they ranked bottom third in defensive rating post All-Star break. It was not pretty. It was not pretty. I would watch games with Memphis and part the Red Sea. There was a play that Wemby had the other day. I don't know if you saw it. On a fast break, he grabbed the rebound, just dribbled through everyone. Obviously, it's Wembanyama, but still just no effort there. I've seen that a lot from the Grizzlies, unfortunately. That's what happens when guys are hurt who can play defense very well, and you got Jalen Wells, Gigi Jackson, who are more offensive-minded guards on your team. The bleeding also didn't stop there, unfortunately. The Grizzlies surrendered an average of 44 field goals made per game, which ranks 6th worst in the NBA during the year. Their superstar, Ja Morant, would play. He wasn't his normal self, unfortunately, either, averaging 19.2 points per game, which is the lowest since his sophomore season. CJ, how did you feel about Ja's performance this year and all the talks and things going on with him? We have not spoken about him at all recently.
Yeah. I think that is it's a good example of how I feel about his season. The fact that we didn't even bring him up in talks.
Much.
I think it kind of just shows what
good point. I didn't even think about that.
You know what I mean? Because that's a great
he wasn't doing nothing to talk about.
Yeah, just even when he was on the court, I feel like everyone was talking about him being traded. The talks of Trey, Ja, and then LaMelo at the beginning of the season, where these players what team would they get traded to, this and that. I mean, I think that was probably the last time we talked about Ja, honestly. So I think it kind of speaks for itself. Right. Not much talk-worthy points about his season, and I think it shows with the record for the Grizzlies as well. Just disappointing for sure, but with all the draft picks they have, I think they have shown us where they're going with their timeline, and with the treasure chest full of picks, it kind of is where they're going, building for the future. So
that's respectable. Great answer right there. Good take. Overall, Memphis also struggled with their offensive efficiency. As you know, Ja Morant was struggling. They're probably going to struggle too. They ranked 23rd in the NBA in true shooting percentage. Also, for Memphis, this led them to finishing with the 7th worst overall net rating in the entire league with a minus 6.0. if everything goes according to plan this offseason, Memphis can focus on the 2026 NBA draft and who they'd like to select to improve their 25-57 record. I saw Gigi Jackson and Jalen Wells grow at the end of the season. I saw some good things from Memphis. Santi Aldama went down out for the season. I remember putting him in the injury report a lot this year, CJ, and that's unfortunate because he was also having a career year. I think when Edie's healthy, he looks great. My question is just, can they get healthy? Ja Morant, in my opinion, needs to go. I know that might be another conversation for another day, but just seeing what his value is, you're not going to get a ton for him. You may only get 1 first-round pick, whereas 3 years ago you could have gotten 4. But since the landscape of the NBA has changed, you need to change with it. To CJ's point, getting the war chest of draft picks, Desmond Bane, 4 first-round picks incoming from Orlando, who we'll talk about in the Eastern Conference. They look ridiculous, man. I don't know if you saw their last game of the season where Franz and Desmond Bane, they yanked them and then ended up having to put them back. And the point is Orlando sort of a disaster? Desmond Bane played all 82 games and was one of the best players on Orlando, so not to his fault, but it just shows where the Grizzlies are on their timeline. Every game I saw was sort of out of sorts, especially at the beginning of the season with the Ja Morant stuff. I think he had a run-in with the media, and that kind of set their locker room off. I think that's why Jaren Jackson Jr. wanted to leave. He felt that the Grizzlies were tending to Ja more than him, and he's more consistent. Obviously got hurt this year too. So honestly, Jaren Jackson Jr. and Ja Morant didn't have the best years. But the point is the Grizzlies are in a situation where they control their destiny, which always feels great. They're not hamstrung by, a horrible roster construction like the Bucks are, or they're not in the second apron like the Cavs. They have picks, unlike the Lakers, right? There's a lot of things that they're going to be able to do in their future. But this season, struggled on the offensive end, struggled on the defensive end due to injuries. It's neither here nor there. But I think Memphis is going to have a good next 10 years. We'll see if they are able to get to the top of the West. I believe in them. They have a young roster. Like I said, Jalen Wells finished with a career high in points. I want to say J.G. Jackson was also hooping over the last month. Not too sure how many points he averaged, but he was performing well when given the minutes. They have some guys on that team that interest me. So I'm excited to see where Memphis ends up, man. I think this season overall, if I had to give it a rating, it's probably a 5 out of 10. They were probably expecting to make the play-in at least if everything went according to plan, and it's a disaster, but they own all their picks, so it's not really a disaster. I think the Grizzlies fans understand now where their team actually is, and yeah, the 7th worst overall net rating in the league, -6. It's tough to be good.
Yeah, it's I feel like I've said this a lot about the Grizzlies, off-season files and heading into the year, projections and whatnot. They always do a really good job of drafting. So the fact that they do have so many picks,
Good point.
I think it's a great sign for them. Like you said, leaning into the youth, honing in onto their development and their draft process, I think is going to be huge for them. And they've shown that they can do that. Memphis isn't isn't a free agency destination.
Market, yeah.
So they need to capitalize on their picks. And then, who's to say that they're not going to trade some of these picks potentially and make a huge splash on a free agent? They have a lot at their exposal to be able to, make big moves and potentially, shift their timeline. Yeah. So excited to see what that looks like for the Grizz because, I think
a lot of options, right?
A lot of options, a lot of picks, and as a team that is in a rebuild and
that's
you just
a great
got
point.
rid of 2 of your best players and 2 out of your 3 best players. They're positioning themselves in a good spot, I believe. Just didn't have.
Yeah, that's a good point, CJ. Their development, their player development's really good. I didn't bring that up once, but that also does save the Grizzlies in terms of their front office. That's a part of the front office that has to do with the players that people forget about. That really matters in this situation because the West is so deep. We know that we're fine in the West. Saying that stuff's clearly not true. I think the front office knew this, taking risk this season by trading Jaren Jackson Jr., understanding it was going to set them back to prepare for their future. If I'm a Memphis Grizzlies fan, I'm happy with this decision. I'm happy with how this season finished. Obviously, they think they won like 2 games over the last 15, so not good. Yeah. Not good from a win-loss perspective, but what they were doing behind the scenes and to your point, what they've done, their track record in the draft is good. So to me, the Grizzlies, out of the team, all the teams that we've talked about, are in the best position that we've spoken about.
Yep. Yes,
To
sir.
make Grizzlies fan feel better. So
Yeah. Heading into the next team we have, man, we have the Dallas Mavericks. The Mavericks won the Cooper Flag sweepstakes, but that wasn't enough to salvage an otherwise lost season before it even began. It started to unravel when Nico Harrison traded Luka Doncic for Anthony Davis, who was traded to
Washington.
To Washington. Sorry, I was like to what? Sorry, to Washington this season in the middle of the night that last year, followed by Kyrie Irving tears ACL. This set up the Mavericks poorly as they entered the season with expectations that didn't match reality. The Mavs,
you can say that again.
the Mavs were hit by the reality quickly as they started the season 19-35 pre All-Star break, while sporting the third worst offensive rating, scoring 110.2 points per 100 possessions. Cooper Flag wasn't fazed by the pressure, however. Flag averaged a rookie-leading 21 points per game and 4.5 assists per game on 47% shooting from the field. Flag also scored the most points by a teenager in any NBA game ever, scoring 51 points versus the Orlando Magic on April 3rd. Regardless, man, Dallas still struggled to put it all together behind Cooper Flag this year as the Mavs finished the season with a 26-56 record, finishing 12th in the West. Dallas's offense ranked fourth worst in the NBA in scoring this season, only averaging 110.3 points per 100, which would be their worst finish since pre-Luka era. With the projected lottery pick in this upcoming draft, Dallas looks to make amends with their fan base and find Cooper Flag a true running mate for their future.
That's a good take.
Yeah, they
make amends with the fan base. You got to find somebody to help Cooper Flag. That's the mission.
Yeah, I was about to say, the silver lining in this whole season for them was obviously getting Cooper Flag and seeing what he turned into, right? I know we had this conversation and we'll probably bring it up forever now that we've talked about it and we've kind of seen his rookie year, if he's going to be a generational player. I think he showed us a lot this year. I think, we had those conversations that he probably is going to be. So that being said, I
changed my mind on it.
Oh, 100%. And I think it, that was the silver lining for the season. And obviously them having their pick is the other thing. Obviously you didn't win a lot of games, but you can potentially get a top 5 pick now and put someone next to Cooper Flag is your goal. And I think the fact that you have, Najee Marshall and the Klay Thompsons and all these players that are
Christie,
Nembhard. You didn't see a lot of Derek Lively this year, but they have a roster constructed that defensively should be good on paper. It's just if they're going to be healthy. And then obviously Kyrie being out the whole season kind of took that out of the picture. But once he comes back this upcoming year,
we didn't talk about Kyrie at all either. Because he was hurt. He was, you know what I'm saying?
The whole season. So seeing what they have going on, they have these picks. They were able to, capture the flag, as we like to say, last year. I think it, for the most part, as a Mavs fan, coming off of the Luka era, you ended up getting another one in Cooper Flag, and I think that is going into the right direction for your roster. Obviously, there's still a lot of holes that you need to fill. You need to get someone next to him to help him out. But with this upcoming draft, I think it's a positioning them in a good spot, and I think it's not the greatest scenario, for the circumstances that they were in coming into the year, but Cooper Flag is looking great. You have a young team that is going to be there with him. You just have to find someone that you could pair next to him. And I think this is a perfect draft to do that with, since it's so deep.
Yeah, dude. I think that's in my opinion, Patrick Dumont's issues with Nico Harrison led to the firing of Nico. The decision to trade Luka Doncic was a stupid decision. We all knew this at the beginning of the season. I was actually shocked by Cooper Flag's resilience and maturity for his age. Shocked by Ryan Nembhard. He broke the assist record for the Mavs the last day of the season. I don't know if you saw that. PJ had a good year. You know,
Mhm.
Max Christie had a good year. If you look within the Mavericks, there's some great spots. The Mavericks are also in a decent spot to me as well. The only thing that hinders them, CJ, is their future draft picks. They don't own any of them because of the Luka Doncic debacle. Cooper Flag was great. In my opinion, should win Rookie of the Year. That's a plus. Who else can provide for you? Klay Thompson looks a little bit distraught. He looks a little disappointed. I don't know if that's going to work out in the future long term. We'll see if they're able to end up getting a top 5 pick. Trading away Anthony Davis does hurt their interior defense. Derek Lively and Daniel Gafford can man the paint, but that is a big caveat because AD did still average 22 points a game and was still getting 10 rebounds and a block and a half. That's still valuable statistics in today's game. And I think him and Cooper Flag started to find some chemistry that was yanked out. I'm excited to see what it looks like with Kyrie Irving next season alongside a potential running mate for Cooper Flag. My opinion, I'm just going to say it. I think it's going to be Darius Acuff. Like they're going to be looking for a guard. They're going to be looking for another young guard who can really go. We'll see, man. I think the Mavericks, Alex, I'm not going to hate on Dallas too much. Expectations didn't match reality. Nico Harrison said we got a 2-year window. I think the window's closed. The offseason files are going to be very interesting for the Mavericks, but yeah, we don't want to beat a dead horse already. We all understand their situation. We knew when they traded Luka that their future road ahead did not look too bright and sunny, and unfortunately, it played out that way, finishing 26 and 56, not too good, only scoring 110.3 points per 100. Their offense could really improve. For me, it's the pace. There's a couple things they should work on. It's the pace, play a little faster. We know Jason Kidd is a coach who used to just tell Luka to do that. He'd say, run, Luka, run. Now they don't really have that initiator. Nembhard was a two-way guy, ended up getting a contract. Obviously, he's one of the best assist guys we have in our league. So they do have talent around that roster. We'll see how Jason Kidd can configure something to cook up next season. I don't know what where their pick is going to shake out, and that changes some things whenever I know that. But yeah, so I think the Mavericks, again, in my opinion, they're not in the best spot. We all understand that, but I think Cooper Flag gives them that glimmer of hope, man. Averaging 21 points. It was 19 pretty much all year, scoring 51 against Orlando, which was unbelievable. Never seen a performance like that in my life, honestly. It was LeBron-esque. Like, I've seen that one time.
Yep.
And it was LeBron James. Not even Wemby was doing that. So I got to give my hats off to Cooper Flag and the Dallas Mavericks. You guys will be fine in the future. But moving on, man, let's go to the Big Easy, New Orleans. The Pelicans really wish they owned their pick for this upcoming draft. But due to the Derek Queen trade during last year's draft, their draft pick is owed to Atlanta. New Orleans finished 11th in the West, CJ, and went 26 and 56 as well, just had the tiebreaker on Dallas this season. The Pelicans during the year finished 23rd in the NBA in defensive rating, allowing 117 points per 100 possessions. They cannot guard a lick. I think that was a massive problem. Jordan Poole would get benched at times because his defense was so poor. James Borrego is a defensive first coach, and he does not have a lot of guys on that team who want to guard besides Trey Murphy and Herb Jones. Zion Williamson can at times due to his athleticism, but they don't have anybody real to man the middle. They were starting DeAndre Jordan for parts of the season. That's not going to get it done in the interior. That's why they're giving up 118 points per 100 possessions. On the bright side, the Pelicans have some dangerous offensive players on their squad that have taken huge leaps this season. Zion Williamson played the second most games in his career, 62 games played, CJ, and averaged 21 points per game on 6 rebounds per game on 60% shooting. The two rookies, Jeremiah Fears and Derek Queen, both had great seasons as well. Fears averaged 14.3 points per game, and Queen averaged 11.7 points per game, to go along with 7 rebounds while shooting 47% from the field. Trey Murphy was the last real bright spot for the Pels on offense, putting up 21.5 points per game while shooting 38% from 3 this season. Trey Murphy, Derek Queen, Jeremiah Fears, and Zion Williamson. Let's talk about Zion right now. Want to give hats off to you, sir. Lost weight. I saw your exit interview. He said he's not leaving the city this offseason. He's looking to get right with DeJounte Murray, who we'll talk about in a second. But he said that he had a great year mentally. which I love that answer from him because it doesn't look externally, right? We're talking about the external. So their record wasn't great. CJ, you and I, the truth is, we don't know what's going on behind the scenes. To see him light up that way and speak so highly of the players that he's around. He talked about Derek Queen and how playing with him has made it easier for him, which makes sense because Derek Queen is a big man who throws what, CJ? Lobs.
Lobs. Yep.
Lobs. And that makes guys like Zion Williamson happy. We have not spoken about Zion a ton this season, but we also haven't spoken about him negatively as well.
Yeah,
He
that's
has
true.
been the brightest spot for the Pelicans, in my opinion, this year. And when I did watch him, especially against the Lakers, I saw the athleticism was still there, and I saw the juice. And I'm actually very proud of Zion Williamson. So I wanted to give my hats off to him. Derek Queen, who in my opinion is a top 5 rookie this season. To me, he's a little bit better than Reyno because of the assists, but Reyno played more games. He got more opportunities. So the stats are going to be better for Reyno. But Derek Queen, at times, I think he had 2 or 3 triple doubles this season alongside Jeremiah Fears, who scored 36 and 38 to finish the year. They got guys who can really go. I think Trey Murphy has been the consistent player in all of this over the last 2 seasons. Outside of getting hurt, he's been the one who's been averaging 20 and shooting 40% from 3. So, yeah, a couple big offensive leaps from certain guys, man. Other than that, though, the Pelican season was a pretty big disappointment, compounded with the fact that they won't receive a pick for their trouble. And also, DeJounte Murray, who was supposed to be the lead guard this year, missed 68 games this season due to the torn Achilles. He was supposed to come back much earlier than he did. He ended up having a setback clearly, and that set the Pelicans back. I think James Borrego expected him to be in the lineup. That's why he was forced to start Jeremiah Fears and why he got so many minutes. But I don't think that's going to end up being a bad thing because he got an opportunity to play. New Orleans finished 20th in the NBA in overall net rating with a minus 4.4. And if they aren't able to acquire a better pick in the 2026 NBA draft, the Pelicans may have a similar outlook on next year, given their current roster construction and defensive issues. When DeJounte Murray plays, we'll have to see what that roster looks like whenever he's fully healthy. When he did play, they were able to pick up some wins later in the season, but I'm not banking on it. I think this team is a little overrated, in my opinion, and they could run into some balance sheet issues. We'll look into that in the offseason files. But just looking at it from an external point of view, the only reason this season is lost for them is due to that trade for Derek Queen. If they had the unprotected first-round pick in a draft class like this, I don't think it's a failure. Zion Williamson played very well. Like I said, the 2 rookies played well, and Trey Murphy played all season. That's a win for the Pels. And I don't want to get too negative here because I think the Pelicans have had a decent season, especially post All-Star break. So those are my 2 cents. I know it doesn't make a dime, but Pelicans, you guys have a glimmer of hope in a future that you can go towards. You just got to put it together. We need to see you healthy, and you got to find a way to get back into the draft this season. If they can make a trade to acquire a pick this year, I think that would be really beneficial for them.
Yeah, you said it perfectly, bro. I think they were hindered so much from the injuries. Obviously, when they made that trade last year on draft day to get Derek Queen, was very questionable, especially with this upcoming draft and what that looked like. But that being said, I think the fact that you did get so much run from your 2 rookies says a lot of how they stuck it out through the whole year because they were getting a lot of opportunities at the beginning of the season, and then it kind of tapered off towards the end of the year because they were trying to start winning games. But that's my only negative thing that I guess I'll say about that situation because you invested into Derek Queen so much. Why would you not want to see what he looks like even when the roster is healthy, quote unquote, with DeJounte Murray coming back? That's really all I got to say about that situation. But the fact that they did trade for him, looking at it now, is terrible because y'all's production for the year. But I think, like you said, whenever Zion looked incredible all year long, and the fact that he did play, I think 62 games, like you said, goes to show that, I remember, a year ago, or it might have been 2 years ago, whatever it was, when
a year and a half ago,
where he was like, he got asked, "Oh, are you healthy to play back to back?" He's like, "Yeah, I am, but that's in the decision of the organization." So that mentality is kind of shifted, and now they're allowing Zion to play and play all these games back to backs and whatnot. It's it's going into the right direction because we know the type of player Zion can be. It's just we haven't seen it for a full year. This was a great sign this season to see what he is made of and what this roster can be.
Yeah,
Like you said,
they
Trey
didn't
Murphy.
trade him either.
They didn't trade him,
They
yeah,
could
because
have.
I
They
feel like
could have traded
he's
him.
been the player that's always been in trade
Yeah,
talks, So the fact
that's
that,
what
like you
I think
said,
that's what made him happy. I think he thought he was gonna
his
get
exit
traded.
interview when you said that he is going to be on the roster, he knows something that we don't. Like you said, we don't know all the stuff that's going behind the scenes in the Pelicans organization, but obviously Zion believes in it, and if your star player believes in what you got going on, plus with all
It's
these
good.
young guys on your roster, it's a good sign. So that being said, obviously looking back at it, you probably shouldn't have traded your first round pick for this year to
No,
get Derek Queen. But I mean, it is what it is. You did it, so I think they just got to give them the opportunities more. That's what I want to see for them this upcoming season. Have these young guys play since y'all don't have anybody else to be able to, young talent to be able to add to this roster. This roster is probably going to look the same. So what is going to be different for them? Can they stay healthy? I think if they can, they could potentially be a play-in team. I feel like they've proven that to us when these past couple of seasons, even without Zion being healthy.
I
So
agree.
if you have a healthy Zion, you have a healthy Trey Murphy. I have no reason to think that y'all can't be in the mix for the playoffs this upcoming year. It's just if that can happen, and please develop your young guys, man. There's no reason for them not to be getting as much run, and the fact that I started playing Jeremiah Fears a lot more towards the end of the season was a great sign, but I feel like they should have been doing that for Derek Queen
The
and
whole
Fears all
year.
year. Like
Yeah.
there's no reason for you not to. So it's probably the only negative thing I gotta say about the situation with the Pels. But I mean, for the most
Fair
part,
point.
not the greatest season, but we saw a healthy Zion, and we seen what Trey Murphy can be on a roster for in the NBA, and didn't equate to a lot of wins this year. But DeJounte Murray, whenever he was in the lineup, they started getting a lot of dubs, like you said, and
True.
a lot more than what they were all year. So.
The importance of matching expectations with reality, though, is
Mm-hmm.
really important.
Mm-hmm.
I think the Pelicans thought they were here when they were all the way
There.
back here, and they're trying to cover this gap right now.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
we'll see.
We'll see. We'll see what that looks like. Yeah.
Yes, personally, I believe if you are not going to watch this playoffs this year, you are making a massive, massive mistake.
Mm-hmm.
Starting tomorrow.
Starting tomorrow. Yeah. Yeah, man. It was I mean, I think that's was there anything else you want to let these people know before we
Now we're gonna finish the West next time. We're gonna start going through the mock drafts too, but we're not gonna spoil it, and we're not gonna do the top 3 picks like every other podcast. So you're gonna have to wait for that. And then playing matchups again. We have more on Wednesday. I think they're actual games that day because the playing matchups are happening then. So hopefully we can get out and watch those games.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Just stay tuned for, we'll probably be going live on assists for a lot of these upcoming games and playoff series. So stay tuned to that. But that's all we got for y'all boys for this episode of 3-Man Weave. If y'all liked and enjoyed this episode, don't forget to leave a like, comment, subscribe, and we'll see y'all next time, man. Peace.
3-Man.
3-Man.